Hey, good morning, everybody. I am so happy to see you. So, we're talking about narcissism today, as we do every day during the week, because it's actually a favorite topic of mine, mental health and helping people evolve and grow and get out of abusive situations, as well as learn how to stand up for themselves, not only in their personal relationships, but in the world in general, to really make that shift from feeling like our job is to help everybody else feel better to realizing that we too need to feel better, that our mental health and our safety are just as important as everybody else's. Hence, why I love talking about this. So, I'm Rita Hickman. I'm a body mind expert and a shiatsu massage therapist, and I use those body mind tools and wisdom and insights and experiences to help women understand how their body works and how to use it if you are healing from or in a narcissistic relationship. So, we're talking about the narcissism mother wound today. So, I don't think there's much more damaging to someone, especially uh, a young girl or a girl child, than having a mother who is narcissistic. Um, Not only because of the experiences, not only because of the actual memories that one has, but layer onto that all of the projections we have about how a mother is supposed to be safe, how we're led to believe that everybody's got safe mothers, how we know in our the deepest part of your soul that if you have a narcissistic mother, it's it's like a betrayal at the deepest level. So, fortunately for me, my mother was not narcissistic. I really lucked out that I could get that support, but it was still a very dysfunctional situation. It was still, there was a lot of stress going on, a lot of things happening in my family. And so, even though my mother wasn't narcissistic, it was the times. There was so much stress going on, not only in mine, but in so many other families that children's needs many times had to contribute to the mental health of the whole. So many children had to step up into roles or positions that they weren't quite, designed for yet because their brains weren't evolved yet. And that was just the times. And so some mothers ended up being narcissistic, not because they were bad people, or because they even did anything wrong. More along the lines of everybody was doing the best that they knew how at any point in time. But there are mothers, many mothers who struggle with mental health. Maybe they struggle with bipolar. Maybe they struggle with ADD or ADHD. Maybe they've struggled with other forms of schizophrenia and other forms of mental health, and especially if you layered on trauma of any sort. And think about it, so many women in our lineage, in our past, have experienced trauma that's been secrets. All of this trauma against children and women were kept as secrets for a very long time. And part of the problem that gets in our way is are these secrets and believing that it didn't happen to anybody else. So if you, from the circumstances or because your mother had a mental health issue, ended up with a mother who behaved in a very narcissistic way, self-absorbed way, for reasons beyond your knowing, there's some very specific things that you need to work with, because it's as if you are the next generation of your mother. And how do you see her clearly and with compassion so that you can see yourself clearly and with compassion? This comes up a lot with when parents get divorced and one parent has a problem with the other parent. And so the children are placed in this position of feeling that half of them, their one of their parents is completely off the rails, is bad, is evil, is wrong. And what happens when half of you, when you're super judgmental about half of you, it means that you are super judgmental against you, against you personally. You know, many people think that empathy or compassion is a weaker emotion, that it's emotion that invites people to victimize you or take advantage of you. But in reality, it tends to be the stronger emotion. And it's an emotion that makes us stronger in the end. Because when we can look at half of ourselves, one of our parents, let's say, or grandparents or great great grandparents, because this stuff does travel down, these beliefs and ideas travel down the lineage. You know, if you can forgive that half of you, then you won't feel as triggered or conflicted or in pain when a narcissist in your current life says or does something. Because many times a narcissist knows exactly what buttons to push, and they push the buttons which are the most painful for you. And so they keep allowing you to revisit and revisit and revisit this pain from having a parent who was mentally ill, and then maybe even responding in the same way, watching yourself become more mentally ill because you're in a narcissistic relationship, watching yourself become more narcissistic because of the environment that you're in. And there can come up in yourself a self-hatred or an inner conflict, which keeps you on that edge, which keeps you replaying those tapes. And so one of the ways a narcissist, having a current narcissist, can help is because they continue to push those buttons in a very direct, painful way, which allows you to revisit all of the things that you thought were gone, but were still controlling you. Because even though you do a head game, even though you go to therapy, even though you do talk therapy, even though you know, explain it or do lots of different energy work, your body has memories. And those memories are still there until they are integrated with the rest of you. Many children, when they are traumatized, they disassociate. And so, you know what, we get damaged, we get affected in the womb. So, because clearly, whatever hormones, whatever things are going on with their mother are going on with us. So, if a mother was in a constant state of fight or flight, it wires us to be in a constant state of fight or flight. It's the same thing with her eggs. If down the lineage there was a fight or flight, it's like the programming. Our environment gives the programming for our DNA. And so our a woman's eggs, because she's born with all the eggs that she's ever going to have, if there was trauma when those eggs were formed, when she was formed, then there's going to be an impact on those eggs as well, which ended up being you, right? So these traumas affect our bodies. And many times we react to things and it's not even from our own life. It comes from the fears or the anxieties or the beliefs or the ideas that were developed generations ago, used for survival. And so many mothers ended up carrying these beliefs and ideas about what makes a good woman, about how to behave, about um, we need to put ourselves last. And those can be very good things in an environment where there's a give and take, where when it's needed, we put ourselves last, but when it's not needed, other people put us first. So it's a give and take, but we lost a lot of that. We lost a lot of our own ability to stand up for ourselves. We lost a lot about our own ability to use our voice and speak up for ourselves. I know my mother didn't have that skill, you know, and because of her wiring, she was less highly sensitive. So she was able to sort of navigate around those mental health issues. But you might not be able to. And you probably didn't learn those skills. If you'd learned those skills, then you'd be in a much healthier relationship right now, wouldn't you? So when we have a mother wound, it's one of the deepest wounds you can have. And it comes down through your heritage, through your history. You might not even know where the original wound came from. You just know that you're stressed and angry. And you're watching yourself now in this situation recreate your whole lineage, recreate the choices that the women made and the beliefs and the ideas that they made in order to survive. Because some of that's human. If someone attacks, it's very human when you're small and little to protect, right? But we stay stuck in that loop of being that child. And when we can integrate our body memories, our nervous system reacting and making us want to scream or cry or run away, when we work on our body memories and on getting our body into a good place, and we integrate it with our head and our thoughts, all the work you did in therapy, all the work that you did in counseling, you're able to start to find your voice. You're able to start to create healthier relationships, because a healthy relationship isn't where one person gets everything and the other person sacrifices it all. You know better than that. It's where two equal people respect themselves and respect each other. And until you really learn how to respect yourself and move through the memories and the pain and the wounds that your body still carries and keeps you hijacked in an argument with a narcissist where you can't move or you cry or you run away, trapped in that emotion. And as I said, they're really good at finding it and poking it and bringing it up and pulling it out of you and ripping it from you. But the positive of it is now you can deal with it. Now you can heal not just you, you can heal your whole family. When I talked to my cousin before she passed, I discovered that there was a whole lineage of sexual trauma in my family. And it started me thinking about how far back it might have gone. How many generations did this go where there was sexual trauma happening, or physical trauma, or domestic emotional trauma? How long has this been happening? And you start to realize that this isn't about you and something's wrong with you. This is about a system of living and being that needs to change. And it needs to change not by coming in swinging, but by looking at the situation from a bigger perspective, allowing yourself to start to heal that very understandable betrayal and anger and fear and hurt that came from having a mother who dealt with mental health issues and behaved in a very narcissistic way. You are the latest generation of the technology of your family. And the next piece you need to get is how to love yourself. It's no longer about just survival. Now it needs to be about thriving, loving yourself and respecting yourself, so you can take a relationship and stand up and use your voice, walk away if you need to, cut it off if you have to, or even do the really deep work if it's possible to heal it, if it's possible to bring it together. And that's completely up to you. You get to decide what kind of life you want to live. You don't have to live the life that everybody told you to anymore. And even though you're probably super successful in all these other areas of your life, you're successful because of the work that you did dealing with having a mother who was a narcissist. And that makes you super successful in many areas. This is just the last area. This is just the deep one, let's say. And when you work through this, like you worked through the others, your life gets much, much better very quickly. Okay? So if you know women who are in narcissistic relationships or had mothers who were narcissists, please share these videos with them. We need to help pull all of us out of this. If someone needs a little bit more help, reach out to me. We've got 3 different options. We've got a whole free searchable library with transcripts. We've got a coaching program for women that we do as a group. And we've got one-on-one coaching with me. Those are all options right now. So reach out and we'll figure out how we can get you some help, okay? So I hope you have a great rest of your day. And I'll talk to you later. Bye. There we go.